That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And tonight we're here to talk about Black as Night, the directorial debut of Maritte Lee Go, which is available on Amazon Prime as of October 1st, 2021, as part of the second annual Welcome to the Blumhouse horror series.
We watched all of the Welcome to the Blumhouse movies last year.
Yeah, of which there are 4.
There were 4. Black Box.
The Lie. Evil Eye. And Nocturne.
And I think we did reviews for all of them.
I think we did, yeah.
And I recall enjoying the bulk of them.
Sure.
Like 3.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly Black Box.
And
The Lie is fun because it's so out of control.
Yeah.
And then for this year's Welcome to the Blumhouse, we've seen 3 so far.
Mm-hmm. Madres, Bingo Hell, and Black as Night.
And we didn't care for any of these.
No, unfortunately.
Okay, Black as Night. This director?
Maritte Lee Go.
What have they done?
As I said, it's her debut.
Oh, well, there you go.
Also has another film in post-production called Rise.
To be fair, I watched the trailer for this film, and I didn't think I would like it from the trailer. So it didn't disappoint. The basic story is New Orleans, modern day. We meet a young lady named Shauna. She appears to be like maybe 15, 16. Right away, she is bit by a vampire, but doesn't transition. Okay. Her home life is her dad and her brother. The mom is not in the picture because she's struggling with drug addiction. So we meet the mom. We see that Shauna misses her mom, but she just can't be home. Shauna, along with her best friend Pedro, this flamboyant gay guy, they find out that perhaps like these vampire attacks are targeting like the homeless or like drug addicts.
The unhoused.
So immediately Shauna's like, well, we need to check on my mama because she qualifies. She's the target demographic. They go check on her, and sure enough, she's been transformed into a vampire. So they kill her ass.
I think it all happens so fast there.
It happens quickly, and
she starts on fire because
they open direct sunlight, yeah. And then, which I thought was a funny scene, jumps out of the window. So Shauna has decided that she needs to find out who's responsible for this. So she goes to a vampire book club run by this corny ass white girl, and it's explained to her all the cliche things about garlic and steaks and.
But this film is trying to establish rules of its own as well.
Yeah, we can get into it, but Shauna gets some information that there may be this house where the vampires congregate. She goes, she finds out who the main vampire is, who is played by Keith David. We find out he's a slave he's an ex-slave because he's obviously very, very old. And he's occupying the house that was once the plantation on the land that he was a slave on. And his mission is to basically defeat humankind with this underground army.
He's a vampire supremacist.
Yeah.
Is what they call it.
They kill his ass. The end. The film starts with Shauna saying, this past summer was crazy. It was the summer I got breasts and... What did she say?
And fought vampires.
I got breasts and fought vampires. And then at the end... Oh yeah, and then she says the same thing at the end. That was the summer I got breasts and fought vampires.
And Pedro dies, but the very last shot of the film is he comes back from the grave
as a vampire.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not very enthusiastic about this. I can't even say I was disappointed because I wasn't anticipating it to be great, but...
No, I think I was hoping it would eventually feel less YA than it does. Although there are some interesting ideas being explored, albeit very heavy-handedly.
The social issue topics.
Yeah, colorism, I think, frequents very heavily and could have been used, I think, in more constructive, subtle ways.
Yeah, colorism is the most heavy-handed. Then there's gentrification, straight up racism.
Well, and the trauma of the city after Hurricane Katrina.
It just feels like a very lazy mention, particularly the colorism, because Shauna is a darker skinned woman. But the way they talk about her, it's just so odd. Like, I don't know. I didn't want to get into it because I don't think this story deserves like a dissection of colorism because it's just like they keep saying like, oh, she's so black. She's not pretty because she's so black. And it's like, but this girl is pretty.
Yes.
And she's not actually that dark.
No.
To me, she's like a chocolate girl. Like it, I don't know. I just thought it was strange. And then that plot point is used to explain that because there's this taxi cab driver
named Tunde.
Who is also a vampire.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, how are you able to be out in the sun? And he explains like vampires with more melanin in their skin are able to sort of live out, like spend more time in the sun.
But he says it takes time too, because otherwise that makes us wonder why Shauna's mother was able to die.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think a lot of the themes were not well executed, so I just don't even have that energy.
Well, yeah, because she's beautiful, but right away we have her own brother referring to her as Wesley Snipes with braids, which, you know, like I just watched I Got the Hookup, and they do the same thing to Cheryl Underwood.
I'm just going to quickly go through my notes. So her little gay friend Pedro, we find out right away that he is declining or is going to decline a full scholarship to like a prestigious college in Texas somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then he explains like, well, I can't leave New Orleans. Like I'm the backbone of the city. Who's going to teach everyone everything they need to know? But then we sort of find out that he's also thinking like he's going to be the oddball going to like this university in Texas being this gay Mexican. I thought that was out of control. Mm-hmm. That just seems so dumb because that character Pedro is painted as such a confident, like queer person. I mean, he's walking around these streets just being extra gay, saying whatever he wants to say. I find it hard to believe that same character would be intimidated and not seek out his education.
I think it's hard to believe because the characterizations really aren't that complex. Whereas, you know, in something a little better written, we would have been made to understand that that's all a front.
He's also doing too much.
Yes. It's
very like RuPaul's Drag Race, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was too much for me. One positive is... Big Frida's on the track.
Yeah.
We hear a song from Big Frida, so that was nice. Okay. The tone is very odd to me because I think there were so many opportunities for this to be humorous, but the humor we get is sprinkled sparingly throughout, which turns out for me to just be very frustrating because I feel like this movie was taking itself seriously.
It's taking itself very seriously, but again, that could have worked if it, because I wanted it to have kind of that Lost Boys vibe where it's specific to a time and place and community.
Sure.
That I think, and with also very intriguing, interesting things to say, and instead it really does feel like Meet the Blacks 2.
Okay, yes. This film feels like Meet the Blacks 2 if there were no jokes. Not that movie's that funny, but no. I know people liked it, and it was trying to be funny. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this film feels, because they go to like this neighboring house and try to like infiltrate even though they have no understanding of what's happening, and then they arm themselves with the garlic and the wooden stake and the silver.
Well, they see the stakeout where they're peering through iron bars where anybody could see them. They're like, we noticed all these prostitutes, we think, coming out of the house, so she grabs this white girl and goes and poses as a hooker to get inside, and then the lead vampire that was in there is like, oh, I usually don't like such dark girls. Like, does it matter at this? Like,
between the number of times the color of her skin is mentioned and the number of times Pedro has to say he's Mexican, it was just overkill.
Which, again, I think that could be. I think the film could have had things to say that were very interesting using those points.
Yes, of course, yeah.
It was written by Sherman Payne, who wrote Charm City Kings, which we reviewed. That
with T.I. with the vitiligo?
No, that's
the motorcycles.
Yeah, with Meek Mill.
Yes.
You're thinking of the RZA film.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Asjha Cooper, if I'm saying her name right, as the lead is likable screen personality.
Yes.
Like I really didn't, even though I didn't like where the script was going a lot, I thought she was consistently fine.
Yes, I think she does a fine enough job with what she was given. There's a character named Chris who's like the hot boy at school.
Mason Beauchamp.
Who Shauna likes. And there's a really awkward scene where she approaches him at a party and they all look at her like she's crazy. But at a point, after Pedro's convinced that there are vampires, Chris goes to visit Shauna to sort of pay his condolences because he heard about her mom and their moms were friends. And she's like, wow, we're hunting vampires. You want to help? And he just very easily decides to help. I thought that was crazy.
He sure does. But they later explained that he also had a relative, his brother was addicted to crack. And so it is also vulnerable to this scourge of vampires. The apartment complex that they're staying is called the Ombro.
Okay.
I looked that up. It means shady.
Oh. There's a scene where Shauna, when she's in that house for the first time, like with the other vampires, she's practicing like how to attack with a wooden stake.
Much too late to be practicing that.
Yeah, and also it looked ridiculous. I felt, I hate shitting on films, but this film felt cheap.
It does feel cheap. The animation, though, because they do a backstory animation, is creepy enough to where I almost would have liked just more.
That was my next note, that the illustrations explaining the main vampire, Keith David's sort of position,
Babino,
I thought was by far the best part of the film and was actually quite interesting.
Yes.
It kind of reminded me of the shadow puppet thing from Candyman.
Sure. And, it's always fun to see Keith David. And I don't think he's really given enough to do. But
just go by. I'm gonna rewatch Greenleaf.
Or They Live.
To get good memories of Keith David again.
Good memories. Requiem for a Dream. Don't watch that for good memories of him.
I don't have anything else to say.
I was laughing at the point where the taxi driver that we learned is the good vampire Tunde. I immediately thought of that Patrice O'Neill bit about Tolu. Which I sometimes make you play. If you like Patrice O'Neill, look up his bit about Tolu. Or
if you don't know who Patrice O'Neill is, go look him up. He's very funny.
Yes, but as a friend commented as we were watching this, it feels like Black Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't even think it... I actually am not that familiar with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, the film, yes. But I can't say if it really fits that mold, but I was disappointed.
I could be done. What would you give this movie?
1 out of 5.
I would give it 1 out of 5 as well. Thank you.